worst MMA injuries. So let's throw this up on the screen. If you haven't seen this, boy, do we have an injury for your ass. This is terrible. Now, I had the notes here about who this was. Yes, this is Blake Perry. Look at this fucker's nose. Danny, you think it's broken? This happened at A1 Combat 4, which is actually, this is Uriah Faber's show, I believe. It took place at the Stockton Civic Auditorium in California. Easily one of the worst broken noses I've ever seen, right?
Yeah. That's up there with Mike Perry for sure. That is gross. That is... I saw it on my Twitter timeline, and the way they edited this was perfect because they kind of have like the towel over his face, and then they just kind of do like a big reveal. That thing's just gross. I can't believe they let him fight.
I know. Did you see the video of them putting it back in?
No, and I don't want to. That looks disgusting.
It's fucking awful. It is. And dude, here's the other part too. Like, I've had nose surgery. I've had nasal problems for the last, like, I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. You've known that as long as you've known me. I've had breathing problems through my nose because I got a bunch of damage up in there from years of living like a stupid person. Man, trying to sleep or trying to avoid like headaches and how like the position you have to like sit when your nose is fucked up. I can only imagine the weeks, probably months of absolute misery he's going to be in, even if the nose heals, which, by the way, all the scar tissue and shit is eventually going to have to come out there like that. That's one of the most uncomfortable injuries, even if it's not like, you know, it's not life-threatening or it's not necessarily career-threatening in that way.
Right.
But like quality of life shit, real bad. Real bad.
Yeah. Dude, and this was only his second pro fight. And sometimes I like, I know people that are like training MMA just for fun, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I might just do one like bucket list MMA fight. Is like, dude, I don't know about that. Like, unless you're trying to be like a pro fighter and take this shit seriously, like, show him that. Like, dude, you're gambling. You're rolling the dice every time. That was his second pro fight, bro. F that.
How much you think? And hey, you know, how much you made for this? Probably a couple grand.
Couple grand, yeah.
Maybe.
Hell no, dude. I wouldn't take that for like. You have to pay me like $1 million for me to get my nose like that.
Yes, cash. By the way, not like
oh,
you know. Shit, I don't have to declare to the IRS type shit. Like, I'm taking all 1 million of those with me home. All right, so it leads me to the question, Danny. Tell me, we watch a lot of violence, you and I, and we've been watching a lot of violence together for a long time, right? We are, you know, I'm an OG in this game, but I feel like you've become one as well. You've been around for a little while now. Tell me an injury through all of the years of violence that you've watched that kind of stuck with you in the middle of a fight. I'm not talking about some stupid-ass car wreck. I mean, in a real fight, what injury really to this day was like, oh, that one was bad?
Dude, I think the worst ones have to be like the tibia breaks. Like Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva, those are by far the worst. I mean, they're disgusting. The legs flopping around. I remember years ago, before that even happened, there was like a really famous kickboxing fight that you would see the highlights every now and then float on social media. It's a guy that whose leg just wraps around the other guy's leg, almost like if you were kind of using a whip, and you just see him fall to the ground and be in so much pain. And then years later, we saw what happened to Anderson Silva. That to me has to be like number one, especially like the one with Chris Weidman where like it snaps and he actually put it back to like plant his weight on it and it just kind of collapses. Oh, that one gets me all the time. Like I could barely even see it. Like you see it live and then you're like, nope, I'm not watching that again. But then you always got like the Mike Perry one where like the nose is completely destroyed. They actually had to remove his bone from his nose and now he just has cartilage and he can like press his nose flat. Like I've seen some pretty disgusting shit.
That's a pretty bad one too. And then he had to fly home from. Remember that fight was not like in his backyard. That flight was in Uruguay, so he had to go all the way from Uruguay home to
pieced them up. Who's fighting this weekend?
Yeah, that's right. I'm just saying, man. If you have a nose injury or like a face injury where you know the pressure changes can affect like headaches and shit, that's one of the worst fucking ways to go home. Breathing through your mouth. Oh God, fuck all that. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. I'm going to say the worst injury for me, and it wasn't the one that looked gruesome. Like, for example, the one you brought up is a good one, where like Silva gets his leg broken, and Corey Hill back in the day in The Ultimate Fighter too, or actually was on The Ultimate Fighter, but like on one of the Fight Night shows. But those are gruesome to like look at there. The ones that kind of stuck with me were the ones that were like, you talk to the guys afterwards, and the recovery process was months in the making. So I'll give you two of them. One, when MVP literally broke the skull of Cyborg Santos, right? That was a fucking bad one. That I said this at the time, Danny. Tell me if you disagree. That is one of those injuries where, like people break their hand pretty routinely and they get cut pretty routinely. If people's skulls were breaking that routinely, you couldn't have MMA. It's one of those injuries where if that was something that was regular, the sport would have to be banned.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's like close to death, right? Like I'm no doctor, but if your skull's collapsing, which holds your fucking brain, like, dude, that is horrible. That is absolutely disgusting. That has to be number one injury, right? And I can't imagine, like, for anybody that's been like injured, I can't imagine like actually like feeling like a giant dent in your skull. Like that must be like the most. Like the most stressful, the most worrisome shit ever. Like I've had like a hernia, I've had like a meniscus tear because of jiu-jitsu, and that shit sucks. But I can't imagine actually having like a freaking hole in your forehead. That's horrible. Also, like your forehead, isn't it supposed to be like the strongest part of your body or something like that?
Of your skull, yeah, I think it's one of them, and I think it's right. Don't they tell you in soccer you want to head the ball right around where the hairline is, like that part right there? The crown is typically the strongest. I'm not sure where his was broken, but that one I was like, dude, that's real. That's like when it medically like serious in a way that was alarming. The other one, I'll tell you this one, dude, that beating that Sage Northcutt took to Cosmo Alexandre, that was a bad one, dude. He shattered his face into a fucking, like Thanos snapped and he just disintegrated. That's what happened to the bones in his face. Lengthy process. I think multiple surgeries. Shit like that where, if you don't get the matchmaking right, the matchmakers, people like to think the job is easy. Action fighter against action fighter. It's a little bit easier in the UFC when you've already got guys who have pretty good chins, pretty durable, pretty talented, come from pretty good camps, right? You've got a lot of material to work with there that someone at a different level has to make, a little bit more precise calculations. Obviously, Sage accepted the fight, so he and his team made a miscalculation as well. So it's not just on the matchmakers. But you got to be honest about that one. The matchmakers fucked that one up. They did. And dude, Alexandre, I mean, he nearly ended Sage's career. The fact that he may fight again to this point is, I'm going to say, somewhat miraculous. Those are the ones that stick with me.
Yeah, those are bad. I'll mention one from that's kind of personal, from an interview that I did with Ricardo Lamas when he fought Kelvin Kattar. He suffered a broken jaw. And they had to put titanium plates on his jaw. I'm going to read you a quick quote from the interview that I did with Ricardo Lamas. And this is what he says, quote, "My bite doesn't feel the same as it was before. I don't think maybe it will ever will. My teeth just don't align the way they used to. So it's a little annoying." Dude, like, I'm like, are you serious? And he would tell me like, oh, there's like this clicking sound now. And like my jaw doesn't exactly align. Like, dude, these guys like go into the sport and they come out like a different person.
There's no denying it. Like you stay in that sport. I mean, the fact that St. Pierre kind of got out, largely intact is what I would say. Largely is, the fact that he won is amazing. The fact that he can like still have a pretty decent quality of life is the other amazing part. If you can win a title, make some good money, and come out with your health intact, buddy, that's the trifecta. Right? Yeah. That's it. You beat the game. If you can do that, you won. But that's very difficult to do.
Yeah. Money, health, and legacy. If you're able to walk out with all of those, dude, you played the game right. You're a winner 100%. And I'll just mention one real quick. I'm not going to mention his name because this was off camera, but I don't know if this person wants me to mention his name. But it's a famous coach who used to be a former fighter and was having neck issues and was telling me that like basically it was a big reason why he retired, because he when he would grapple, he couldn't do a good grip, and he started noticing like his right side of his body go numb, because he would go to the gym and try to like lift dumbbells, and like the dumbbells on his right hand would just roll off because he couldn't just do a strong grip. So yeah, dude, this sport is brutal.
So wait, so I guess in that case his central nervous system had been fucked with?
I suppose, or maybe it's like a pinched nerve or something, but like he couldn't make like a really hard fist or couldn't grapple well. And again, when he was lifting, like he couldn't really hold on to the dumbbells. I'm sure there's PT and things to take care of it, but like that's pretty scary shit.
Dude, I mean, from jiu-jitsu, if you can't make a grip, dude, you can't do shit with that thing.